The investors who backed OpenAI, A24, Skims, and Instagram have just announced one of their biggest moves yet. They are launching a holding company to invest in, operate, and acquire different businesses. And what's interesting about this is they're not necessarily buying up technology companies. They're buying up traditional businesses in legacy industries like accounting, for example, basically creating an AI roll-up strategy. The Thrive Capital was founded by Josh Kushner in 2010. Yes, he's from that Kushner family. They've raised 9 funds, but they also incubate businesses. So they started Oscar Health, which they took public a few years ago. Not only investors, but they're operators. But what's interesting about this holdco model, besides the fact that it's focused on AI, is it's a permanent capital vehicle. Instead of the traditional VC model based on these 10-year funds, right? You raise capital, you deploy it in the first few years of that fund's life cycle, and then you try to help your portfolio companies exit in some way so you can deliver liquidity to your LPs, who are your investors, and then you can keep raising more and more funds. This is the traditional model of venture capital, but it has some constraints. You have to deploy the capital you raise within a certain time frame, and there's a little bit of pressure to exit. IPOs are becoming rarer and rarer. It's hard to give your investors that liquidity, so it makes sense why a lot of VC firms are starting to experiment with alternative models. This holding company model is not necessarily new. Berkshire Hathaway is one famous example of a holding company where the subsidiaries operate more or less autonomously, but the holding company owns these different assets. So it's not a new concept. It's not necessarily the traditional venture model. That being said, like I mentioned, venture capital is making a foray into fund structures that start to blur the lines between venture capital and private equity or other asset classes. General Catalyst has already announced that they're also doing an AI roll-up strategy. In fact, they announced that a few months prior. This seems to be where venture capital is headed because they're seeing where the puck is going. They're seeing that AI is about to eat the world. It makes a lot of financial sense to not only invest in and back the companies that are creating this transformation, but also to have some sort of a stake in the companies that are actually being transformed, disrupted by these AI tech companies. You get to double down on the thesis of AI, stake in the acceleration of AI changing everything.